Yes or no, this is your last chance. No beating around the bush.
Perhaps I was talking when I should have been listening.
This is the Redefine Relentless podcast.
Welcome back to Redefine Relentless. It is your podcast host, Hunter. It is episode 98, and today we're going to be talking about Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. I'm going to give you a shortened summary, so stick around, and then the longer one that breaks it down in more details. So you can listen if it's your thing, you can stick around, but I highly recommend this. I actually was about to do this a month ago, but I changed my mind and wanted to make sure I went through what was said in building this system, which is, and hint, I'll give you a little hint before we start. It is super simple, and it actually works in automating. It's a little initial work, but it is so simple. You don't need a financial advisor. You don't have to do this and that. It is super simple. So let's jump into the shortened version first. So Profit First by Mike Michalowicz is a revolutionary book that challenges the traditional formula for making a profit. The conventional formula, sales minus expenses equals profit, is simple, but often leads to businesses failing to make a profit. Michalowicz proposes a different approach that aligns with our natural instincts and promotes sustainable profitability. So there's a problem with this traditional approach, how we see how a business works, and for your personal finances as well. See, the traditional formula for profit encourages businesses to spend all the available resources. This is a phenomenon explained by Parkinson's law, which states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. When applied to business, entrepreneurs tend to spend all the available money, therefore reducing their profits. This is a first major flaw in the traditional approach. So let's talk about this primacy effect. The second flaw to the traditional formula is the primacy effect, where people focus on the first thing they see and ignore the rest. I'm going to say that one more time because it's so good. The primacy effect, where people focus on the first thing they see and ignore the rest. The primacy effect. In the formula, sales comes first and profit last leads entrepreneurs to focus more on sales, mistakenly believing that increasing sales will automatically lead to profits. This often results in businesses overemphasizing sales while neglecting profitability. See, the profit first approach is a lot better, and let me explain why. See, Michalowicz suggests a different approach. Determine your profits first, so a percent, and then subtract it from your sales, and then manage your business with the remaining money. This approach aligns with your natural ability to work with what you have and encourages efficiency and strategic financial management. Now, going back to the primacy effect, I'm not going to there's a ton in the book. I highly recommend reading the book, but it brought up a study that was very fascinating. In bringing up the primacy effect, it's not just a floating thing. I mean, think about it. You see what's in your bank account, and then you go spend it in this type of ordeal. It's the primacy effect in what I think Michalowicz is talking about, and we can see that it's like such an effect. Once we see something, we're like, oh, we're okay. We just got a paycheck or something like that for our personal finances, or for business, hey, I just got paid. I can go spend more money. And this is what we rationalize and think. This is why we have to build a system. So again, with this profit first method, it's taking profits first, and then you are, with the remaining budget, you are managing your expenses. And we'll get into it in more detail in a second. Managing your money in smaller proportions. The book also suggests managing your money in smaller proportions, similar to how using smaller plates can help you reduce calorie intake. This can be achieved by setting up different bank accounts for different purposes. So this is what the system is about. You have a bank account and you have separate accounts. And I'm going to get into more details. You're actually going to have two different bank accounts. You're scratching your head. Let's talk about the accounts first that you're going to have, and then we'll talk about the little bit more of advancements, but I promise you it's simple. Bear with me. Okay, so the first account is your income account. This is the account that's getting the money in. Your W-2 that's coming in, or the invoice that is, or someone that's paying you, your company that's coming in. This is what the income account's for. Your profits, you're determining that a percent or however much. Percents work easier, so with the flexibility of seasonality in businesses or in your paycheck, whatever it may be. And then the third is owner's salary. And then the fourth account is taxes, and then the fifth is operating expenses. I'm going to repeat those accounts one more time because they're very important for this system. Income, profits, owner's salary, taxes, and operating expenses. That is 5 accounts. Money earned by the business is the first deposited into the income account. Again, this is all this account is doing. It is just receiving the funds. It's not really holding it. The funds will be distributed from that bank account that gets inputted from, the money that you're receiving for your business or your personal. And then it will be distributed to other accounts, starting with the profit account. Hence the book, Profit First. Now you're starting to formulate and think, wow, okay, this makes sense. This is a structured system, and it's very easy. So this approach makes managing finances way easier and promotes disciplined spending. See, there's a role for these profits. Profits should serve as a reward and a safety net for the business or your personal life. Michalowicz recommends taking 50% of your profits every quarter as a reward and leaving the rest as an emergency fund for your business or yourself. This ensures that the business owner enjoys the fruits of their labor while also preparing for any financial emergencies. Another point that Michalowicz brings up is boosting profits. The book suggests several ways to boost profits. There's 3 that we're going to be talking about. These include improving business efficiencies, refining customer service, and paying off debt strategically. By focusing on these areas, businesses will increase their profitability and sustainability. Applying the Profit First system to your personal finances. As I've been talking about a bunch, Michalowicz encourages to apply the Profit First system to personal finances to achieve financial freedom by managing personal finances in the same way as a business finances. Individuals can build a secure financial future. In summary, Profit First advocates for a shift in thinking about profits. Instead of treating profits as what's left after expenses, it should be considered first. This approach encourages efficiencies and strategic financial management, leading to a more profitable and sustainable business. It's not just a business strategy, but a philosophy that can be applied to personal finances as well, leading to an overall financial well-being. Just a quick second away from the podcast episode, please leave a review, share with friends and family. I really would appreciate that, and turn bell notifications on so you know when I drop the next podcast episode. That being said, enjoy the rest of the episode. Now that we've talked and summarized the shortened version, which I think is going to be majority of the version, I'm just going to get into details about the action and things that you need to do. And what I personally do, it works well with me, so I can lead you to financial freedom as well. Because really setting these up for success is going to be so helpful. It says it in Dave Ramsey, all of his book, The Total Money Makeover, all these different things. And I structured my personal finances like a titan, honestly, for bringing me the most success in the future. Now, I want to restate what we talked about, and I want to simplify. I'm going to put below, seriously, check it out below, the resources below. I'm helping you. I don't get paid. I don't get commission or anything like that. I'm really trying to help you in gaining this. We're doing this together. Is all the resources breaking down the Profit First, as well as check out his book. Again, I don't make commissions. I'm not an Amazon affiliate link. Maybe I'm missing out on profits there or something, but seriously, check out his book. It was amazing. I think it's really worth reading. Worst case scenario, look up on YouTube for more visual on how to, because I know it's a little bit of a challenge given I've gone through it. And it was, it took me a couple hours to set up, but now that I have it set, guys, it has put me in a spot where I have to stay within budget, and there's no questions, if, ands, or buts. So normally in personal finances, before I get into businesses a little bit more, is a 50-30-20 rule. Might be organized different. 50% is your needs, 30% is your wants, and 20% is your savings. I kind of flipped it around. That's a general of broad what you should do, but I have about 30% into savings and investing, and about, what was the other, 20% into wants, and then 50% into needs, something like that. I think a little bit less. I might have a little bit more into investments. I think like 35%. We'll break down in here in a second, so don't quote me on that. So let's talk about real quick how this system is working. Now, this is going to be really actionable advice. I want you to listen to this podcast episode. Go watch a YouTube video. I'm going to provide a bunch of resources in this description of this podcast episode you really need to check out. Maybe you're like, I don't have the time right now. I'll push it off. If you do, really look at it, because I'm telling you, I thought I was good. I would think that I'm good with money. I've made and I've saved and invested money, but this really puts a budget, and using the primacy effect and seeing things is so huge into setting up a successful life for your personal finances and if you're creating a business. So the first thing is creating two different accounts, bank accounts, the total separate banks. So if it's Chase and First Merchants or whatever, you're creating two different bank accounts, okay? And so one of which is going to be focused on your profits, your profits and your taxes, and some other investments if you're personal. And then I'll break down my personal in a second. So that's going to be stuff you don't want to see. That's out of the way. In a bank, with personally a high dividend yield, I use Alliant Credit Union, which is a really good. So it's not like a bank where banks make money off of you putting money in the system. So actually, when you put money into Chase or First Merchants, they take that money and they go give it as a loan to someone else. You have that money in bank and it's financially backed by the government and a bunch of other things. Not going to get into that. But what a credit union does is it's for the people. It gives loans and stuff still structured, but it is not building a huge, when you go downtown to Indianapolis or anywhere else, you see these huge buildings for Chase and all these other banks, and you scratch your head, where they get that money? Because they loan your money that you're putting in the bank, and it's backed by a bunch of other stuff and by the government by a little bit, but still, a credit union helps a lot more. So I've used Teachers Credit Union, and I also have Alliant Credit Union. This is for personal. I will say this is personal. This is not for business. For business, go with Chase and some other things as well, because there's a big difference. But for personal, I use credit unions because they have a way higher dividend yield. My money sitting in my bank account makes a 3.1% interest rate dividend yield. So if I have 20K sitting there, 1.5 is a decent amount throughout a year that gets paid out, which is really good. Okay, but let's dive into these two different bank accounts now that we got this in mind. So you're going to have to take action and set up two different bank accounts. You probably already have one. You're going to have to go set up another. Or if you're with a business and you're using your business, you're going to have one and you're going to go set up another. Or you can do both. Your personal, I highly recommend doing it both in your personal and in your business. I started with my personal so I can understand it, so I can transition into my business using it. Okay, so now that you have those two accounts set up, you got one again for your profits and your taxes, or your profits and your investments and savings. And then you have this other one that's kind of your wants and needs. This other whole entity of a bank is what you're using. So your revenue enters your income account. So my income account is put with my profits and my investments and stuff like that. And then with that bank, it gets allocated to a different bank, which is huge. It helps a ton doing that way. So I'm going to give you an example so I make this make sense as much as possible. So I have Alliant Credit Union. My money, my W-2 gets entered in Alliant Credit Union, and then the next day I set up a transfer that goes into my profit, my investment, and all these other accounts that I made, and also gets a transfer into my Teacher Credit Union bank account. Again, a whole different other bank, and it gets transferred into that. And so I have my budgets automated and set up. The next day after I set it up, every 2 weeks, you can do this with your bank, seriously, business or personal, you set the transaction up, and then you do reoccurring after every 2 weeks, and it happens. So I get my W-2, and then the next day it's boop, 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 and it's all budgeted. And that really helps. So we're setting up these two different systems, right? And you have this income account, and then it gets distributed to profits first, and then and then the rest. So profit first, and then your owner's pay, and then your income taxes, your operating expense, and your sales tax. And add another account if you need it. When in doubt, add another account. In cushion accounts, as I've figured out with my personal finance, it's really good to have a cushion, because now you're kind of getting into this, and I sat down and ran my expenses, what I'm spending, all that. Does it take a lot of time? Yes. But I'm telling you, it's going to be worth 20x setting up these budgets that really help you see using the primacy effect and only what you can see, and looking at your bank account, what you can actually spend and / afford. So I would highly recommend writing down all your expenses, like kind of like a monthly like bank, how it works. And so knowing you don't jump and be like, oh, I want to make, 50% profits, and then you put it in your profit account, and then you don't have enough money to pay all this other stuff because you didn't do the percents right. But you set it up, and you kind of push yourself as you go on to do a higher and higher percentage. You review like every 2 weeks. I'm looking at my bank. You have to set a reminder every 2 weeks to look at your bank account to make sure it's going to be, you have cushion, all that good stuff. You're not overdrawing, all that different stuff. It's really going to help you. My furthest, and I know it can sound complex. It's simple. You're setting up 2 different bank accounts, and those banks, different banks, one has profits and your taxes that you're not viewing, and the other one has your operating expenses, your owner's pay, and the other accounts that you need, that you make payments for. And again, when in doubt, add an account. That can help you a ton, especially in business and in your personal finances. My biggest action is keep it simple. I went into the weeds and I tried to do stuff. Just get a rough, like what things are costing you, looking at your bank account, what I can survive off, my rent, and eventually realizing that, wow, my rent is way too expensive than what I should be paying for. I think you shouldn't be paying, I know you shouldn't be paying over like 30% of what you make on rent or your mortgage or whatever. Because if you go anything over that threshold, that you're paying for something that you really can't afford. And also, you can, but whatever you want to do, but in the standards of saving and investing in for the future and retiring a millionaire, doing a Roth IRA and all this different other stuff, you really have to set yourself up for success and put yourself in. It's hard. It's not easy, right? And that's why you have to be, in order to become a part of the 5%, you have to be willing to do what 95% of others aren't willing to do. And it is so tough, it's not even the tough part of creating this. It's easy, but it's the tough part of pushing yourself to, I have this budget and this is what I'm spending. Yeah, you won't be able to go out to the bars every weekend and put it on the company's credit card that you're running, or your personal finances or anything like that. You have to work with a budget and work within what you actually have and taking your profits first. Because again, using primacy effect, we're looking way too much at our bank account. And if we see we have thousands of dollars just sitting there, we're like, oh, we can go spend it. We're putting profits and we're doing investing, right? So we need, especially in the terms of our personal finances, but we also need to invest in our own business and expanding it and making sure we're not, driving a brand new Escalade if we're running a startup. That just doesn't make sense if you're not making that much money. I want to talk about the core principles real quick, which there's 4 of them in Profit First that really help you kind of wrap your mind around this. It may be a lot that you're intaking. You're like, oh my gosh, Hunter, I'm trying to summarize within 25 minutes and really give you guys the best information so you're set to have this information and then go do a little bit more research, watch a YouTube video or 2, and then really dive deep into building this system, because it is so simple. Don't make it complex. The biggest thing that you need to do is action. Get over your mindset and stuff and put yourself in place in the budgets that you need to live within. Because that's how you become frugal, is to become wealthy in the future. And understanding this and becoming wise and understanding investments, or getting an investor if that's what you want, a financial advisor, whatever it may be in your personal finances or in your business, really setting yourself up for success and really focusing on the things that matter and making sure you make a profit as an owner, so you're not making 20 grand a year and doing it for 5 years and stressing yourself out that you can't afford things and going in debt. You really got to open your eyes on what you're spending and focus on those expenses and work within those percents. Again, this is so simple. Do not make it complex. This is not complex. We're creating 2 different bank accounts. They have a couple accounts in them, and when in doubt, add another bank account. And you're setting up automatic transactions that happen. Super simple. They make it all apps, Chase, Alliant Credit Union for me personally, Teachers Credit Union, they all make make it super simple. You can set up reoccurring things. And I keep on repeating this, but I really want to push it through you to make sure you have a successful business and also your personal finances, which are super important in setting your life up for success. So let's talk about the 4 core principles that I went down that rabbit hole. So use small plates. Using smaller plates starts with a chain reaction. When you use a smaller plate, you get a smaller proportion, which means you take in fewer calories. When you're taking in fewer calories than you normally would, that means you start losing weight in comparison of, you working out. So serve sequentially. If you eat the vegetables rich in nutrients and vitamins first, you will start satisfying your hunger. When you move on to your next course, your mac and cheese or mashed potatoes, they don't count as veggies. You will automatically eat less. By changing the sequential order of your meals, by eating your vegetables first, you're automatically bringing your nutritional balance to your diet. That's in comparison to, eating healthy. Remove temptation. Remove any temptation from where you eat. People are driven by convenience. If you are anything like myself, when there's a bag of Doritos sitting in the kitchen, it calls out constantly, "Hey, come take a little bite." Even when you aren't hungry. If you don't have any junk food in the house, you're probably not going to run out to the store to get it. That means you would have to put on pants. You're going to eat the healthy food you've already stocked instead. And the 4th core principle of this is enforce rhythm. If you wait until you are hungry to eat, it will already be too late and you will binge eat. Then you are likely to eat too much and stuff yourself. You go from starving to stuffed and back to starving again. These peaks and valleys in your hunger result in way too much calorie consumption. Instead, eat regularly. Many researchers suggest 5 small meals a day so that you never get hungry. Without the peaks and valleys, you will actually eat fewer calories. Now, I know I said that super slow, but I really wanted to, because I talk fast, and now that I've read a lot, I read quite fast. But think about all those core principles. 1, having a smaller plate. 2, serve sequentially. 3, remove temptation. 4, enforce a rhythm. That just all makes so much sense. And I really want you guys to come in and enjoy this stuff because it's a proven system that works. And I just want to detour to a really good point that the book makes, especially about the plates and having smaller proportions. And I know you may be stressed. You're like, "Oh my gosh, Hunter, I do not want to hear that today. Like, all this is so much. I have so much going on in my life. I'm in this organization. I'm working a 9 to 5. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. I got to watch this TV episode. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do these chores. I got to get groceries. I don't have time for this stuff." Well, I'm telling you, you make time for it and automate it. The worst part is starting with it and putting yourself in place in what you should really be making in profiting as in your personal and in your business. Taking small steps towards a defined target is the way to grow profits. Slow and steady wins the race. And this is how the approach to profit first is going to help you a lot. So there's action that you're going to have to take. So define your target by a percent. Look at public companies that share their financials and see what you should be making. Or in the sense of like the 50-30-20 rule, your needs should be 50%, your wants should be 30%, and your profits or your savings or investing should be about 20%. That's like the average standard. Now, I'm trying to set high because I'm young. I don't have, some people might have kids. There's a ton of other reasons why people can not have as much as a higher saving rate as me percentage wise because they have a lot more expenses. But we're trying to set this up and we're going to lean you more towards it's reviewing quarterly in this actionable thing, putting a reminder in your phone every quarter. You're reviewing your financials. Hey, I can add 1 more % on profits and I can take out this subscription in my personal finances or in my business, right? So look at public companies and really get those numbers down to, but again, I'm giving you the number, the average standard for at least, if you're running a business, you got to look at the industry that you're in versus if you're personal, it should be about 50-30-20, 50 again being your needs, 30 your wants and 20% your savings. All of your accounts are going to be named. You're going to go in there and you're going to put names on your accounts. So I'm going to go through mine super quick so this all makes sense. Now, where in the world did I put there it is. Okay. So I'm going to go through my accounts super quick. So my Alliant Credit Union. So this is my savings, my profits, my investments. And I'm going to tell you some of my numbers straight up. And some of you might be like, oh my gosh, that's not a lot. Or maybe some people think that's a lot after a year's worth of work and making, I'm transparent and I don't have money to boast. I made $38,000 after taxes. I don't really care about before taxes. But after taxes but I do because you can do write-offs and stuff. But anyways, my after was about $38,000 off of making $51,000 for gross income. Gross income is what you make before taxes, basically. So, okay, going into my account, my oh my gosh, I'm just messing up. My Alliant Credit Union account, which is my profits, and my other things, which again, I highly recommend doing Alliant or Credit Union. They have a high percent interest yield. I get 3.1% for it just sitting there. Okay, so I have a savings account, it's labeled savings account because I can't change the name for whatever. It's my income account. So that's where my W-2, my company, it goes into this account. And then I have a 6-month e-fund, and I had personally for me. So if I got fired from my job today, I'd be able to live 6 months comfortably without a problem. In that account, I have $10.5K saved. It took me a year to get into this. I didn't really start investing until recently, putting a lot more money towards my Roth IRA and setting that up, and crypto and smaller investments like that, S&P 500 index. Until I got my 6 month. Again, this is more personal, but I think this should also really be in your business as well. So my 6 month fund. And then my E-fund, my emergency fund, this account is really used for breaks, or your tire blows out, or you got to replace an AC at your home or whatever. I have 1.5K saved into that. Now, it may change dependent on your lifestyle and how much money you have and stuff like that, but that's personally what I have. If something happens in my life, I got 1.5K sitting around that I can pay back in. And immediately, if any emergency ever happened, I have a blowout tire and I use my emergency fund or whatever, I'm immediately with my next paycheck I'm taking my percent out of my savings and investing and putting it into, and my wants, and putting it into that account until it's maxed out again at $1,500. Okay, and then I have 30%. So those were my kind of savings, but my savings and my debt is equivalent to 35% of my income, which is about 15% more on average. So my savings and investing gets broken down into Coinbase, which is crypto, Bitcoin largely, Ethereum, Litecoin, and some other things. I have a Roth IRA that I'm investing into, and as well as an S&P 500 index. And also my business, Simpler Living. It is not cheap trying to do a startup in business and trying to delegate these tasks on Fiverr, but it helps get a lot more done. So anyways, and then 5% of debt is allocated towards my debt, my student loan debt. I'm not too worried about that. I'm paying the bare minimum with the strategy of basically I'm investing. It's going to compound. I'd rather it compound when I'm younger, because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars when coming towards retirement age. If you do add one more year on, like, it just compounds like crazy. And again, using the thing and the profit first, taking small steps towards a defined target is the way to grow profits, because once these compounds happen over 30 years of my investing in Roth and other investments, they grow like crazy. And some may fall, but the average, since the opening of the stock market, the S&P 500 has averaged about 12% returns compounded over time. That is insane. Over 30 years. Trust me, that's a lot of money. And that's with the dips and recessions and the highs and the lows. The average is 12%. So I highly recommend investing. Okay, so then I'm paying off minimal debt payments, which I think is like $125 a month or something like that. Now, you may be thinking, Hunter, isn't that going against what you were saying? Because in the strategy of boosting your profits that you just talked about is specifically focusing in, this is for business efficiency, refining your customer service, and paying off debt strategically so you don't have to pay off these long term. Well, with the compounding of investing and also me planning to make more money in the future, I will really offset, and I'll take a year or two when I make a lot more money to basically pay off majority of my debts. I'm really not concerned about it at all. I'm paying minimal because I know I'm going to make more money in the future. I'm a go-getter and I'll make it happen. So I'm paying minimal right now, and maybe that's not you, but I'm paying minimal to basically compound and make sure I get my investments in my Roth and really get those starting to compound and getting those habits and generating that automated system that's automatically investing into it after it's allocated into my income account, and then it gets distributed. And then I have basically connected to that account Vanguard, Coinbase, and all this other stuff, which really helps with investments. So anyways, going now to Teachers Credit Union. So actually, before I get into that, I want to rename my accounts that I have. So I have 5 accounts I have in this, and I created the eFund and the eFund 6-month eFund and eFund on this to really help with having that reserve that Michalowicz was talking about. Again, when in doubt, create another account. So savings and investing, that's where my income is coming, my W-2 that gets distributed. And I have my 6-month eFund, and then I have my eFund, and then I have my savings and investing. So that's 4 accounts. And then I have my debt, which is 5 accounts. So out of those 5, I want to say real quick, my eFund and my 6-month fund are completely maxed out. So like I have what I need in there, so I'm not transferring any money any longer into those. Those are just sitting and gaining 3.1% interest because it's a credit union account. And then getting into my wants though. So I had 5 accounts with that. Is my wants, which is the wants and needs in Teachers Credit Union. So let me break down what this is real quick. It is the main expense is my accounting for the bigger bills, my rent, which is about $650, and utility is about $100. Insurance for my car and house, I use Lemonade about $15 a month for home insurance, and about $75 for car insurance, which I pay in a 6-month term. So I pay like $550 or something in that range every 6 months because that helps lower my payments. Given I'm a guy and I'm under the age of 25, so my insurance is pretty high. So I'm able to basically pay in 6 months. And paying so much up front, it lowers the rate, and I save like $25 or $30 a month, which is really nice. So now getting even more, and my subscriptions, are in my main expense account. So that's one of my main accounts in my Teachers Credit Union account. And then I have my spending account, which is the day-to-day expenses, which are my groceries. If I go out and get coffee, if I eat out, do fun stuff, miscellaneous, that's kind of like my fun account, if you will. And then I have a rainy day fund for if I want to go on a vacation, if I want to save up for a car in the future, want to, get a concert ticket or whatever. I have that as well in there. So with this, I'm going to break down all my accounts. So in my Alliant, I have my income account, which it has like a couple $100. I added cushion to I highly recommend when you start off, have a couple extra $100 in there, because like if you push yourself too far and you're really spending like, your wants and needs are like 70 to like 80%, and you're trying to save 30% into your profits, it's kind of teaching, and you get the hang of it, and you really know how your budget should be, but create a little bit of a cushion in there, but still try to meet the goal of the percent that you want to have. So the way I split it into my accounts, I'm going to explain real quick. So in my savings account, so I'm talking about Alliant real quick. It goes into my income account, which has 0, but it has a couple of $100 just in case if a random bill comes in that I forgot about, because you have to like transfer, your subscription or whatever to a certain bank account when you're setting this all up. So I have my 6-month fund, which has 10.5K in it, and then that doesn't get anything transferred into it. And then I have my emergency fund, 1.5. That doesn't get anything transferred to it. And then I have my savings and investing account into the Roth, Coinbase, all that. That's 30% of my income, of what I'm receiving in my account, that's going to this. And that's really accounting for my profit account. And then I have my 5% debt account, which automatically gets put into the 5% from when it comes into the income account, gets put to that. And then Teachers Credit Union is a total of 30% of my funds going over. about 60% of my funds are going over there to my wants and needs. And so about 23% is spending. So that's the day-to-day, the groceries, the coffee, going out, eating out, doing fun stuff. And then 7% being a rainy day fund, making 30% of wants. And then my main expense being roughly around 35% of my income, making a total of 100% of my income. And you might be thinking, Hunter, well, you're not saving a whole lot. I have my E-fund, I have my 6-month fund, I'm making all these investments, but my saving and investments don't equal up to exactly 30%, like about 5% of that, or 10% is saved, and the rest is invested. I'm investing heavily into Roth, S&P 500, and Coinbase to really get that compounding effect going, and my business, because I truly believe in it. That's basically going to be what Profit First is. And again, I just want to explain real quick. It's just making 2 different bank accounts, one for profits, savings, and investings for your business, in taxes, and not looking at it. And then having one that's your operating expenses and your day-to-day and that stuff, and making those accounts. When in doubt, add another account. This may be stressful and stuff, but I promise, just breathe. The best you can do is taking action towards this and making a better tomorrow for yourself. So keep it simple. Don't make it complex. Look before you leap, in the sense of looking at your budget, and don't just jump into the deep end thinking you can save, profit 50% of your company. Be rational. But again, all you're going to do is define your percents. For your personal, your wants, needs, and savings. For your business, knowing the taxes that you have to put to the side, and your profits that you want to make, and what your expenses are under reasonable rationale, and then looking at them bi-weekly. You're gonna have to look at it more than normal if you don't look at your bank account more than 2 weeks, to really focus and make sure that you're staying on track to meet those budgets. I really want your ears up for this last bit of the podcast episode and wrapping it up. This is a marathon to consistent profitability. This is not a sprint. At the end of each and every quarter, increase your profit allocation, bringing you closer to the target percent that you made in the beginning. Then reduce operating expenses by the same amount. Like a suggestion, at least 3% of profit allocation to increase, and then 3% op expenses decreases per quarter. No matter how much money you see in your account, your lifestyle should remain the same. Whenever your income increases through a raise or a tax refund, for example, invest only half of that money in your lifestyle and put the rest where it needs to be, like in your retirement account or something else, savings and investing. In the final summary, the best way to make sure your company or yourself makes profit is to simply take it. Immediately allocate a percentage of your income to the profits account. You get in the habit of running a business on less money and not overspending on resources. This makes you take a closer look at your operating expenses and your operations, and becoming more innovative and efficient wherever possible, so you can make more money. Be lean and mean. Actionable advice: get into a regular habit of managing your money. Every 2 weeks allows you to keep tabs on how you're saving and where your money is being spent, making you aware of where you stand financially. That'll be wrapping up this podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Look down below in the description for more resources. And seriously, the biggest action of advice is taking action of building the system. Spend a couple hours and thank yourself in the future when you're retiring on a beach, because you started saving and investing and compounding your investments early on in life. With that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and don't forget to be grateful for today, because tomorrow is never promised. I'll see you on the next one.
This has been the Redefine Relentless podcast. Catch you guys later.
And that's the last you saw of them. You got it?